The hobby you've always known of but never really heard about. Oh, wait a minute. The hobby you've always heard of but never really known of. I don't know. What are those? I'm going to talk about board games. As soon as I say that, I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking Monopoly, you're thinking Battleship, you're thinking Scrabble, Guess Who. Well, forget all that, okay? The thing I realised is that it's nothing like I thought it was. I was following a YouTube channel that then started another YouTube channel just about board games, and I was kind of confused. I was like, how can you do a YouTube channel just about board games? There's not enough going on. Turns out I was wrong. There's a whole world. Everything we know, everything you know about board games, forget it, because there's so much more to it than that. The art is such a big part of it, so there's so many stunning, beautiful board games out there. There's so many different options in what you can play, so there is something for everyone, and the community itself is actually really nice. It's actually a really genuine community. So I wanted to make a video where I just talked about board games and told you why I've kind of fallen in love with it. Like it's like a passion of mine now, and I want to explain to you why. I started watching this channel. They're called No Rolls Barred, and I'll talk about other board game content later in this video, but I started watching, and then as I started kind of getting into the hobby, it all clicked. I realised, wait a minute, this is something that I always should have loved this much, because I've played D&D forever. I've been a big fan of toys and trinkets since I was a kid. I was a magician. I love playing cards. I love rolling dice in games like D&D. And all of these things put together is what board gaming is. And when I say board gaming, I mean like card games as well. Stuff you can buy and play on the table with a group of people. So card games, board games, that kind of thing. And the weird thing about it, ironically, I got into it during lockdown, during a time when you can't actually spend time with people. It's a social hobby that I couldn't actually really do. And I became obsessed with it nonetheless. When I was younger, some of my favourite and most cherished memories are going to my friend's house and playing some video games in their room all day, all weekend, playing whatever games we had that we could play locally there in local multiplayer. That aspect of video gaming is being lost a little bit. We can just play with our friends online. We can just play online multiplayer. We can just stay at home and do whatever we want. We don't need to go over there to play with someone. But you know what? It was always a good excuse. It was always a good excuse to just go and spend some time with some people that I liked. And then I realised that that's what board gaming always has been, and that's what it still is. And that's one of the things I really love about this hobby, is it gives me a reason to go and spend time with people that I want to spend time with. Just by saying, hey, I want to try out this game. How about it? Hey, do you want to do a board game night? Hey, do you want to play some cards? Hey, do you want to hang out this weekend and play some games? I've not been playing games for long. I've not been doing this for long, but already I've got some cherished memories with family, with friends, with everything that's been going on. Being able to go over and spend some quality time with people where you're actually doing something, where you're not just kind of doing small talk and having the same conversations you always have, where you're not just having a meal, where you're doing whatever that stuff is, as well as something together. And that's what I love about it, is you can go and spend time with people and do something. See, the thing is, I'm not a massive fan of small talk. I mean, I don't mind going out for a meal with people, but a lot of the time it just ends up being conversations you've had before, or talking about traffic. That's the difference. Doing something that requires everyone's attention, everyone's focus, everyone cooperating. I've been doing some board game nights with my friends, and already we've been having the best times and just making the best memories with different groups of people. If I go somewhere and I think it might be a bit weird or quiet or awkward, or I just don't know what I can bring to the table, I'll bring a little card game and we'll play that. I remember when lockdown finished and I was able to go and see my family for the first time, and I brought Sushi Go, cute little card drafting sushi game. You know, sometimes it's a bit awkward and weird with families, but this just kept it on track. Just made it fun, just made it an experience. It was just fun. And now every time I go, I take it. I think they actually bought the game themselves because we had such a good time with it. And like I said, I've been doing board game nights and just bring in all my board games because I want to try them out with my cousins and some friends, and we just have some food and we have some drink and we just sit there, and we've been having the best evenings. And it's just something about it. You don't just sit there and talk. You do that as well. You don't just sit there and eat. You do that as well and drink, yes. But you're also doing something together, working on something together. There's these moments. Board gaming is all about making moments and having these experiences. And I've already got loads of memories from the hobby. And I've only kind of just started. And I've only just been able to actually experience it properly with people. During lockdown, I played a lot of Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion with some friends of mine. And Gloomhaven is like a dungeon crawler where you get weapons and you're going through killing enemies and you follow in this quest, and it changes as the game goes on. And we just have these moments sometimes where we're playing and there'll be some enemies left and you'll just do the coolest thing and take out everyone, and everyone just collectively just loves it. It's just an experience that you all have together. And the thing is, there's so many different types, it's so varied, that if you know a little bit about the hobby, or if you've kind of looked into it a little bit, you'll be able to find something for each group of people that you spend time with. I've only been into board gaming like less than a year, right? And I've already got just so many great memories. The other day I was at a board game cafe with my friend and we were playing this game called Epic Spell Wars, where you take 3 cards and you can make a spell out of 3 cards. And I was just about to win the round because everyone's cards are on the table. It was my turn. I knew I could take out my friend with my spell. And you do card by card, and I did the first card, and then the second card was going to be the one that did it. But at the end of my first card, just before I was about to do my second card and kill him, it said draw a card. So I drew a card. That card just said, you're dead. Get over it. And I lost. When I was guaranteed to win, when I knew I was going to win. And it was just the best, and it was just the funniest. I remember the first board game night that I set up with my cousins, and I took some card games. We started with them. It was great. We played Bandito, Cockroach Poker. We just had the best time, and I took Catan. And you might have heard of Catan. He's a bit of a modern classic in board gaming. And I knew a little bit about it. I learned how to play it, but I've never played it. And this was going to be the first time. I actually bought it during lockdown, but didn't realize it was minimum 3 players, so I couldn't play it. So this was my first time, and we all learned it together, and we all played it for the first time. My cousin had actually heard of it, and it was just the best experience. And there was so many laughs, there were so many great moments, so many just times in there that I remember really vividly, and we want to play it more, we want to play it again. And that's the case with so many games. My actual stag do was actually go into a board game cafe with some of my closest friends and family, and we just had some drinks, we had some good food, and we played some good games. A little bit of a different memory, not necessarily a social memory, something that I wanted to talk about, mention in this video. There's this whole genre of board games called roll and writes, where you roll and you write. It's in the name. Typically you can either play them one player or you can play them with people. And during lockdown, you know, I had my struggles with anxiety, I still do. And if anyone knows anything about anxiety, is you need to be able to ground yourself. And there's a lot of ways of doing that. And for me, one of the ways that I would do that, and one of the ways I would refocus and get back into the moment, would be to sit down with a game called Railroad Inc. or another one that I have called Gone Sean Clever. And in Railroad Inc. you just roll the dice, you have a little whiteboard marker, and then you just draw these little railroads on that whiteboard. And you connect up these railroads, and then you score at the end of 7 rounds. And that's it. And I would do that. And it was just something in the moment that was tactile, that I could focus my brain on and use my hands with. I've just got so many memories of just being able to calm myself down, sitting in the garden playing this game, or in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep, or during work when things were stressful. There's just so many times that I was able to sit down, refocus, and just get everything else out and sit there, because I think you're using your hands and your brain, and it's just very much in the moment, almost like reading is. But I'm not a strong reader, so it's just, I need silence for reading, but I can sit there and I can play one of these games, and there's just something about it that works for me, that grounds me, that detaches me from everything else. And with that being said, there's something about the tactility, how tactile tabletop gaming is, and how satisfying it is, that is another huge part of the hobby that I love. Like, I like video games, but you don't really get that satisfaction of doing things yourself. I just love shuffling cards if we're playing a card game and dealing them out. There's something about rolling dice that is just so satisfying. There's something about moving pieces on a game board or little tokens, flipping them over. Whatever it is in the tabletop gaming hobby, it's very, you know, you're using your hands and you're doing stuff, and that's just so satisfying. There's just not many things that just give you that in a fun kind of context these days. Dice have been around for like thousands of years, right? They used to turn knuckles into dice and stones, and there's like board games in Egypt, isn't there? Like in tombs. I think the game's Senate is on a mural from like 3,300 BC or something. Backgammon is like 5,000 years old. Hounds and Jackals is another game that was discovered from like a 2000 BC Egyptian tomb. Board gaming is old. It's been around for a long time. It stood the test of time. And I think that satisfaction, that tactility, that challenge that it brings, that social interaction, that coming together and bringing together, is part of that. There is almost something primal about rolling some dice, about putting a card down. Do you know what? I always feel like this with reading as well, because like there's something I like. This is a weird personal thing for me, but there's something really satisfying about doing something fun or interesting or engaging that doesn't involve electricity or the internet. And do you know why that is for me? That's because for me, that's still something that I don't really own myself. That can still disappear, that can go. I don't have control of whether the internet is always going to be online. But if you have a book, you have a book forever. Despite your circumstance, you're always going to be able to sit and read that book. And it's the same with board games. If you have the game and some people around you, you don't need to plug it in. You can just get it out of the box and sit there and play it in the light of day. And I don't know what it is about things like that that are so satisfying to me, and there's just a difference with those things than others, but there is. I know I've mentioned that there's a huge variety of different types of board games, of tabletop gaming. I'm not going to elaborate a huge amount on this because it is so vast and there is so much of it, but I just did want to make this point. I'm going to show a screenshot from a website called Board Game Geek, which is like the hub of board games, and it shows the different kind of genres of games, the different types, I guess, of games. A lot of these are very different. They play very differently. I mean, different people really would like some of these and really would hate some of the other ones. Genuinely, I have a collection of board games, not a huge one, but I know that some of them I would never bring to someone's table because it's not their kind of thing. Something that's a little bit more crunchy, a little bit more analytical, something that is a little bit strategic. You know, some people don't like that. Some people just want to have fun, have a good time with a simple game. So I've got some card games and some party games that are perfect for that. Easy to teach, easy to learn, but a lot of fun to play. But then some people do want to sit down and just really get in and kind of experience something a little bit more complex with a little bit more depth together and put the time in. So there are games for that. Some people like luck. They like rolling and seeing what happens. So there are games for that. Some people like to sit there and ground themselves when they're feeling anxious with a pen and a whiteboard. So there are games for that. Some people like to build up their own deck and feel a little bit more in control of what they're bringing to the game, so there are games like that. Honestly, there's just such a varied amount of games. There's hidden role games, social deduction, stuff like Blood on the Clock Tower, stuff like Werewolf. There's like Yahtzee style games. There's murder mystery games, there's dungeon crawler games. There's literally so many different varied games, not just in genre, in style and theme of the game, but in mechanics and how they play and what you actually have to do during the game. There's so much, and it covers so many people and so many different interests. Honestly, you'd be surprised. I would be surprised if you couldn't find something for yourself, genuinely. Now, look, you can't afford to go and buy all those games, though. I know that. That goes without saying. But the cool thing is, in a lot of places, there are board game cafes and board game bars where you can just go in, pay a couple quid, and be there for a couple of hours and try out the games they have there. Or you can try some online. There's a website called Board Game Arena, there's Tabletop Simulator on Steam, and a lot of these places you can play board games for free and see if you like them. Try before you buy. Also, it's like books. Once you're done with your game, once you feel like you've played it enough, you can pass it on. There is this kind of community feel of, I've done my time with this, I want someone else to have the experience that I did. So, before I summarize this video, before I try and come up with some kind of conclusion, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the content that is out there online to do with board games. Like anything, like any hobby, if you're on the internet, there's going to be a community there for you, and that's no different with board games. There's actually a really great online community and a really great set of creators who exclusively make board game related content. If you're interested, or if you like this kind of thing, or if you think you might be interested, or if you've ever tried Magic the Gathering, or if you ever played Star Realms, or if you've heard of Catan, or if you've tried anything related and you enjoyed it, trust me, there's more out there for you. So I'm going to say a couple creators are out there. Now you've got your big, well-known, established creators. If you want kind of high-quality board game reviews and board game content, Shut Up and Sit Down, I think, would be for you. The Dice Tower's more, they just cover pretty much everything. It's very consistent, regular content, but the quality is slightly different. It's not as high production, I'd say, as Shut Up and Sit Down. Then you've got a channel called No Pun Included that do board game reviews as well, but they're really well scripted and well thought out. No Pun Included is a great channel if you're into board games. Probably a little bit on the heavier side of gaming, then perhaps Shut Up and Sit Down or some other people. But if you are into it and you want to see some people with a real intellectual approach to it, they're great. Now, a couple of channels that I've just been really enjoying. I love finding a channel that I can just put on in the background whilst I'm doing stuff. Here's a couple of the main channels, board game related content, and that I can do that with. Thinker Thema is a great one. An Australian couple, one is the thinker, one is the thema, and they talk about board games, and it's just so relaxed, so chill. I love their videos. I always have them on when I'm working. Foster the Meeple, a similar thing. A couple where they do top 10 lists and they talk about their favorite games, and sometimes they do playthroughs. I've only just found them, but I'm really enjoying them. Another one is Nerds of the West. They're just a group of friends trying out and playing games. Just really fun, chill, funny content. I think they do a lot of streams. And Before You Play is also another really good playthrough channel, quite informative on up and coming games and Kickstarters especially. I feel like they cover newer games quite a lot, or they do playthroughs. That's only a tip of the iceberg. There's so much board game content that I've been enjoying and watching, but if you're just getting into it, or if you're interested, or if you're kind of just dipping your toe in, I'd say Shut Up and Sit Down. No Rolls Barred is the channel that actually got me into board gaming, and I actually do really love their content. They would be another one to check out as well. Shut Up and Sit Down, No Rolls Barred, No Pun Included. And then if you want more chill, relaxed content, Thinker Thema's great, but Foster the Meeple are great, Before You Play great, everyone's great. It's great. It's a great community. Now I have to kind of come up with the summary. I don't know what to say. I might edit the video before I summarize and then do it in a voiceover, because I just have no idea how to conclude this video. Well, you know what, maybe there isn't a conclusion to a video like this. I don't think I have a specific point I want to make. You know, I kind of just wanted to share something that I've been really enjoying, and that's just been really great and impactful for me, which might sound stupid when I'm talking about board games, but it has, you know. And if you made it to the end of a 20-minute video of some dude talking about board games, then fair enough. Thank you. Appreciate that. I might do some more board game videos in the future. We'll see. Probably. I don't know. I'm just kind of doing whatever I want over here, so thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.